introduce to you the man of the hour, Tony.
Hello and welcome back to At the Gates. I am Tony, your host, and I am at the XL Energy Center with
Jared.
Nope. What's your full name?
Atlanta Jared.
Thank you. I have Atlanta Jared here with me, who just got back from
Charleston, South Carolina.
which is very close to Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, yeah. There it is.
So, why are we here at the XL Energy Center?
Say okay.
I
guess that's, you did say we were at the X? Yeah. Okay. Well, we're at the X today because this is the last preseason game?
Last home one, at least.
Last preseason game. We'll roll with that motive. So last wild preseason hockey game, and it just so happens that usually this last game of preseason is also disabled hockey night with the Wild at the X, which supports all disabled hockey disciplines, including Minnesota Special Hockey, Minnesota Sled Hockey, and Minnesota Warriors hockey.
And that brings us to why we are technically here, because maybe we are involved with one of those organizations. Do you want to state your role with that organization? Because I Tony, am a coach with the Burnsville Wild now. I was almost going to say Rams, but we changed names. But I'll let Jared talk about that change and what he does in the organization.
So I am the official marketing coordinator and webmaster, as well as a volunteer for Minnesota Special Hockey. The team I help with is Edina.
Not
Tony,
the Stingers anymore.
Not the Stingers anymore. We used to be the Stingers, but so we are now called the Wild. Luckily enough, we were able to secure a partnership with Minnesota Wild in the NHL, which allows us to wear the Wild jerseys and wear the Wild logo. It's customized for special hockey. Sled hockey has a similar version, and we get to represent the Wild brand at all these different tournaments across the country that we go to now. As part of that, we get to get all new jerseys and aside from all the other things, where all of our teams now, all 13 of our teams now are called the Wild, and we just reference them by their location name. And then at the end of the year, when we go to our tournaments, we all come together, make one big team, and represent the Wild.
Which is really cool. And the other cool thing about the Wild having the association is that on the 8th of October, our kickoff will actually be back here at the XL Energy Center. And during that time, normally that was a kind of an open skate at Mariucci, but this year it will be a food and drink at the X here, and we will also get to see the Wild, their home locker room, which will be pretty cool, especially for all the kids to tour through. And are you looking forward to that?
I'm definitely looking forward to it. Hi, how's it going?
So, we will talk a little bit more once we are in the gates, but just wanted to give people a kind of a heads up to not only just a little bit about hockey and about what is going to be going on after baseball season gets done, because you have a long off season from probably maybe October, depending on how deep the Twins go, but usually it's from October until March at the earliest. Tuesday. If not, Tuesday we're going to get murdered by the Yankees maybe. But then this could be something that's occurring more frequently, is talking from hockey games. It could be a thing. It might not be a thing, but I might have to do one from one of the maybe when Edina and Burnsville meet up, we'll have to do
let's do that.
Coaches at the gates, and we can just do some smack talk back and forth. So I'll lead into this really quick. We can take a break here after this. We'll have to take a break, but what is this going to lead into? Because I think that tomorrow you and I will be doing another show, but how is there something that's going to tie this together? Maybe a hockey theme?
We'll leave it with goalie gear at a baseball game.
Yes, I didn't give you the heads up. I gave it, I think probably the last episode I alluded to it, but I don't think I had the official diagnosis. And if you read the blog, you already know. But yes, there will be some goalie gear. There will be some interesting stuff that happens that is tied to hockey that we'll be taking over to tomorrow's episode. So listen to this as a back-to-back. We'll maybe sprinkle in some hockey stuff when we talk baseball tomorrow. See you inside the gates. All right, and welcome back to At the Gates again, as we are on our way to
Target Field.
And who do I have with me again?
Atlanta Jared.
ATLJRD.
Yeah.
Do you like that?
That's fine.
Yeah. So we didn't really have a outro from yesterday, so we're just going to combine it into one semi-longer episode. And
covered why we're tying the two in. Right?
Yes.
We only left them on a cliffhanger. So.
It's a cliffhanger. So if you can go back about 30 seconds now and pause it, and then wait a day, and then start it up again, that would be probably the maximum impact for this episode. So, Jared, where are we right now?
We are at East 24th Street, walking in the rain.
On First Avenue.
On First Avenue.
Yes, and there's the sidewalk closed up ahead, so in case you're really wondering. Yeah, and it just started raining basically right when we started to walk. So this is pretty fantastic. I'm guessing today will be a lot of rain, which is very kind of ironic, I feel, because we finally have a good team. We're finally making the playoffs, and on the last game of the year, the weather is crying. But all the other years that we've been terrible, the weather has been pretty good.
All we need is the emo Juan Uribe meme for this day, and we got every base covered.
Bringing it back old school. I'm also a little bit disappointed because the big news today was supposed to be that Andrew Romine was going to play all 9 positions, but then what happened?
He did it yesterday.
And also doing it yesterday was possibly Glenn Perkins' final pitch.
Were we anticipating that being today, though? I don't think we were.
The Romine thing?
No, the Perkins.
No, Perkins? Pitch. No. That was just kind of off the cuff and somewhat unexpected.
Okay, so here's the question. Why do they think that it's going to be his last pitch, for those who may not know?
So Glenn Perkins, if you don't follow him, was a 2-time All-Star. Things were looking good for him. He had a little bit of issues with his arm and would go on the DL every once in a while. But within the last 2 years, I think he's missed basically a year and a half of baseball. And he only came back this year after almost not pitching at all in 2016. I think that he pitched maybe like a game or two and then went on the DL. And he's worked really hard to come back, but his ERA is well above 10. He just doesn't have it. It's plain to see when you're in the stands. He doesn't have it. Doesn't have what he used to. He doesn't have that hard fastball anymore. It's lucky to hit 90 at the most. It's probably mid 80s. And for a closer, throwing mid 80s, that ain't gonna work. He's not striking anyone out. And so there was a little bit of talk when he was rehabbing that he might be done, that he might not ever come back. But the good news for him is, even though he didn't get to finish his entire career the way that he would have scripted it, he at least got to finish it on the field, which some guys don't get the luxury of doing.
Yeah.
So where does Glenn Perkins rank in your book for just overall cheerability factor?
Cheerability factor? He's up there. I guess I don't know who we're comparing it to, whether it's just our team or the whole league or whatever, but he seems like a really good guy, and you know, he's chatted with us on Twitter a few times, just out of the blue, and seems that down home Minnesota style kind of guy. So seems pretty relatable and makes you want to cheer for him. So
Also very dry and sarcastic.
yeah, very much so. Yeah.
So
Which fits in very well with our sense of humor. So
yes, so I mean, if you're not a fan of that style of humor, or if you don't really know Glenn and are just kind of looking on Twitter at some of his replies or comebacks or things like that, he might come off as sure, that'd be awesome. He might kind of come off as a dick, and sometimes he just is, because sometimes we all have those moments.
yeah.
But I don't think that he's nearly as much of a dick as what you could perceive him to be, just because he likes being dry, likes stirring the pot, and is this one of those guys that's a character without being a cartoonish character. So, should we reveal what the big tie-in from yesterday is?
Go for it.
All right. So, if you haven't been reading my blog, but you listened to the last episode, you will know that I hurt my hand. And
Which hand?
my left hand.
Okay. That's important because
That is important, because that will come back later. So that was the last episode. That was a Thursday. Things felt a little bit funny, but the swelling went down. I thought maybe it was getting better, and maybe it was this bruise because it was hurting in the wrist area now. Well, went to Sunday special hockey practice, tried to shoot a puck, and it really wasn't going. And oddly enough, that was the thing that kind of made me realize maybe it's worse than expected. Went into the hospital on Monday, so like 4 days after it happened, get x-rays. I broke my scaphoid bone in my wrist and buckled the other large bone, the radius, in my arm.
And the scaphoid is where?
The scaphoid is basically right underneath the thumb, right where it connects pretty much your thumb to your arm.
And it's a small bone.
It's a very small bone, and it takes a really long time to heal. So since it is broken and since they want it immobilized, that means that I have to have a cast for 8 weeks. So I'm not very excited about that, and that means that I can't really use my left hand, which that's my catching hand. So as a Ballhawk, I felt like that was taking away my livelihood, if you will. So after I got that news, I rushed around trying to find a mitt for my right hand.
Not a brand new one, because
not a
it's
brand
not
new one.
worth spending $100
No.
for a brand new one.
I found a couple, and the cheapest was like $75, and I was almost gonna do it, but then I was like, that's dumb. But nowhere else around here, I checked like 5 or 6 different places, nowhere around the Twin Cities had any used baseball gloves. I don't know if that's because it's technically out of season now, or if there's just no lefties around here. But I thought of the next best thing while I was at Play It Again Sports, and tying it back to yesterday's hockey talk, I got a goalie glove. I got a nice, used, stinky goalie glove. So Jared, how do you feel about that?
As I mentioned on Twitter, that is the most relevant Minnesotan ball hawking glove that anybody could ever have. Personally, I think that should be Tony's mainstay for the rest of his ball hawking career.
So retire the big glove and just go with hockey glove?
Retire the big glove and just stick with the hockey glove.
All right, I'm actually thinking of doing that. It would also be good because when I finally have my left hand available for regular catching, I can still wear that goalie glove just as like a backup.
Yeah.
I can almost look like a crab or something with 2 claws.
Have a big giant glove on one, the pincher and the crusher.
Yes. So that's what I'm facing tonight. I'm really looking forward to trying to make a play on a ball, because that would just be insane, especially if it's a home run, because I'm pretty sure that would get some TV time and some airplay out of that.
Now, why? So you looked all over the place for right-handed mitts, for a mitt for your right hand.
Yep.
but couldn't find one. And then all of a sudden you find a goalie glove for your right hand. Why was it so much easier to find a goalie glove for your right hand than it was a baseball mitt for your right hand?
See, that's what I was kind of wondering, because I don't know. I would say that maybe it's because hockey season is just beginning, so they have more hockey stuff out, and it hasn't been gone through yet. So maybe not all the goalies have gotten their next step up type of glove. It's definitely probably for like a youth level, but it's not one of the biggest ones possible. But I still feel good because it's still larger than the average baseball glove. And I don't know. That's just a really good question.
Although it would be funny if you did get the obnoxiously large goalie glove to go with your obnoxiously large baseball mitt for mascots.
I think that I also should have tried to get like a blocker for my actual left hand too.
Yeah.
Because then it would have been protection.
You gotta protect your broken arm,
Yeah.
Of course.
Plus, I mean, if Waldo's out there, I could screen him by karate chop with
that would be even more hilarious.
Forearm
too.
shiver from the left arm.
Yeah.
So let's go back and let's talk about some hockey.
Are there more left-handed hockey goalies, by the way?
I don't know. It's not as crazy as seeing like a left-handed catcher or left-handed middle infielder. So it's not as super specialized, but
when I say
it's definitely more of a rarity.
Left-handed, I'm saying goalie stick in the left hand and glove in the right hand.
Right.
Is that even how you call it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So going back to hockey too, how was the experience last night? What do you want to give us the rundown of what we did, and then kind of give your input on what the experience was like?
Yeah, so as previously mentioned, last night was disabled hockey night at the Xcel Energy Center with the Wild. It's a night that happens every season that features all of the disabled hockey programs that are in Minnesota, including Minnesota Special Hockey, which Tony and I volunteer for, Minnesota Sled Hockey, and Minnesota Warriors Hockey, which features veterans, soldiers who, most of them have PTSD, some have some other types of issues, and some are even like physically. They have there's a couple amputees that even do stand-up hockey for the Wounded Warriors.
Yep.
So 3 great programs that benefit a lot of Minnesotans and are growing extremely rapidly. And the Wild are featuring them every single year. And it's extra special for Minnesota Special Hockey this year because we partnered with the Wild and now are able to change all of our names over to Minnesota Wild Special Hockey and actually get to wear the Wild logo on our sweaters. So a whole new level of awesomeness that can go with our program. The sled hockey program already gets to do that. And I'm not sure if the Warriors will ever work that out with them or if they want to just do their own thing, but you know, they don't do it yet. So yeah, pretty awesome. So last night at the event, because it features all of these programs, what they allow us to do is a lot of fundraising and awareness for our programs. The fundraising part of it is through selling game day programs and 50/50 raffle tickets, and the awareness parts of it, we sell those tickets and programs, and we get to do, not we, like all 3 of our programs, they just pick and choose sometimes they change up who gets to do what type of event, but they do 50/50 raffle, program selling, they skate out the state of hockey flag, we do the Let's Play Hockey call at the beginning of the game. Geez, what else do we do? The big ones.
The main event.
The main event for us are the special hockey program gets to skate on the ice at the first intermission and the sled hockey program gets to skate on the ice during the second intermission. And they also do a bench buddy where one of the players gets to go and sit down on the bench when the Wild come out of the locker room during warm-ups and stuff too. But yeah, the main event is the intermission skates, and it raises a lot of awareness for both of our programs and shows off the skills that that people have maybe those misconceptions about what each of our programs is like, and we can go out and show that look at we're out here changing lives every single day and giving everybody in the state of Minnesota the ability to the opportunity to play hockey.
And it also gives the players a chance to kind of bask in that glory and get some really positive feedback, because you have basically full stands, 19,000 people watching, especially in our program, these kids, and
players score a goal and 19,000 fans cheering them on. You're getting the NHL level treatment when you score a goal, and the celebrations are that much extra special, and the smiles on their faces are that much bigger, and everything happens so quickly, but yet it's still so exciting for them.
So how did you feel that the event was run? Was it pretty smooth? What was your experience with the event itself?
In general, the Wild put on a really good event. They've done it they've been doing the disabled hockey night with us for, I want to say, the last 4 or 5 seasons. And they have it really down to a science. They do other types of events that are similar, where they have youth hockey programs and stuff come in, youth hockey associations come in and sell programs, and other types of events that happen on ice during games. So they do have a lot of experience in putting on those types of events, and so it's pretty clear that they're very organized, and they're able to get you in and get you out and get you where you need to be pretty quickly. And they're generally, they're on a time schedule, so they have to be kind of pushy, which is understandable, and trying to herd 12 to 15 kids or adults with special needs who kind of like to just do their own thing at times, trying to herd them off the ice in the 20 or 30 seconds they need to, so that they can get the Zambonis out and clean the ice and everything. Gets to be a headache at times, but they're very patient with us, and they're very supportive of us, and overall everything tends to go pretty smoothly.
And from my understanding, it even seems like things got a little bit easier, especially now that we are under the Wild's umbrella. So it's almost like it's kind of within house. So there's still some communication with our network, but it seems like since it's integrated, it's a lot easier to communicate that and get kind of people on board and kind of treat it like its own thing now.
Yeah, we have. Being with the Wild, we have sort of rules that we have to follow now, because the Wild want to make sure that their logo is represented in the way that they want. They want it to be shown as a fair and responsible organization, and they don't want to have their logo associated with something that's negative. And not that we're negative, but you just have to be careful, and so as a result of that, we have a direct line of communication now with the Wild. It's actually even more direct, from what I understand, than it was in the past. But, having that 1 extra or 2 extra more direct lines of communication with the team makes everything go a little bit easier at times. There's always red tape, but makes it a little bit easier at times.
And it also opens up, and I think I touched on this the last time, other possibilities that didn't happen in the past, and one of those things is coming up on the 8th with the viewing of the locker room and having the kickoff at the XL rather than the Mariucci. So I think having the Wild associated with it makes it, not that it wasn't professional before, but it just adds another layer of professionalism to this organization.
Yeah, and being able to represent the Wild, it's not only exciting for the kids, but it's also exciting for the Wild, because they're able to reach an entirely new subset of their market that can help ingrain those new people into their community for Wild fans and supporters, that they weren't able to reach before, and so it really works well for both programs. Not that we can say, oh, look at this massive market of people we can bring to your fan base, but like it definitely helps. It shows that they're supportive of all Minnesotans and all Minnesotans with disabilities, and people can feel alienated when they have a disability, because it's like, oh, I can't, this is stand-up hockey and I can't play, but they're showing like, hey, look, here are these programs, and you don't have to be able to stand. If you're in a wheelchair, we got these super awesome sleds that you can sit in, and you can still play hockey, and you can still play hockey at an extremely high level, and even an Olympic level, if you train hard enough. And so being able to support those programs, there's a huge subset of Americans that have disabilities, and so to be able to connect those two, it still makes that reach that much greater.
And I'm glad that you brought up a couple things. The first one is talking about the sled guys. I think that was probably the loudest cheer that I heard all night, was the first goal by the sled hockey players, because a lot of people don't get to see that type of hockey and don't realize just how demanding and even physical it is.
It's so hard. So what most people don't realize is, like, if you think of a normal hockey skater, right? They have two legs, and they have a wide base that they can balance themselves on, right, and stand up on and be easy with. Well, a lot of these sled hockey players, first of all, they don't have the ability to stand, so and propel themselves with their feet, right? So what they do is they have two smaller hockey sticks, sort of like knee hockey sticks, and on the end they have spikes, and on the butt end of the stick they have spikes. And so what that requires them to do is have to use their arms not only to control the puck and shoot the puck, but also have to propel themselves around the ice. So that's one of the major challenges. And think about that. If a professional hockey player now had to change their style so that now they have to use their arms instead of their legs to propel themselves, that's a whole new level of challenge, right? Second of all is the sled, when they start training, has a similar type of setup where they can have two blades. It's under their butt, and they can have two blades that start, and I know the viewers can't, or listeners can't see this, but I'm going to try to paint the picture as best as possible.
Jared has his hands
parallel,
apart.
They're parallel. They can start, I forget what the maximum width apart is. We'll say 4 inches for the heck of it. I don't know exactly for sure, but basically they start with two blades, and they can be separated. So it's almost like a stand kind of thing. And then as they get more skilled, they can move those blades closer and closer together until they're literally only on one blade. Now, think of a professional hockey player. If you took away 1 foot and made them have to do everything on one blade, think of how much more challenging that would be.
Yep.
These sled hockey players are doing that on one blade, and they're stopping like hockey stops, like professional hockey stops. That's freaking insane.
And especially when you look at like the Olympic ones and some of the higher up skill levels, they're physical. Like it looks like basically go-karts crashing into each other with full force.
They're
because
so
it's
fast too. And so then you take it a whole nother level and say, now you're doing all this hockey stopping and all this propelling with your arms and all this extra level of stuff, and now you're having to say, oh yeah, by the way, you got to balance on that one blade. So
and get yourself up when you fall over.
Get yourself up when you fall over. So now you're having to engage your core in a whole different level. Like, it's insane to watch these guys play. The guys at the highest level are some top tier athletes. Like these could be professional level players if there was a professional league for it. And damn, they're good. Like,
also, what's crazy is that I see young children doing this too, which I'm sorry, but like if I was forced into that scenario to do it right now, I wouldn't have the muscle strength to do that. But then there's 5-year-olds that can. it blows my mind.
It's crazy. And to say that it's easy is by far, you're sitting in a sled and no, it's not easy at all. You're insane to think that it's easy. And one example of this is, so when you're starting off as a player, they do have these assistants that can be out on the ice to help you. And the way it works is they have this little sort of loop that goes up high behind the player, and it's like a sled. Like, you're able to push. Well, of course it's a sled. Wow, I'm an idiot. But it's like a handrail to help for that assistant to help push the player in the sled, since they may not have the arm strength to propel themselves. And last Henriksen Foundation hockey festival in March last year, I volunteered to help push some of the players. And if you ever want to try to be part of sled hockey and just see how challenging it is, just volunteer to push somebody. Like, that in and of itself just explains in the most physical fashion how demanding sled hockey is as a volunteer to help push. And all you're doing is pushing. You're not doing any of the rest of this stuff.
And then you realize that those kids eventually, once they aren't being pushed, have to do all that strength on their own.
Yep. As little kids. Yeah.
So it sounds like overall last night, and I was there too, I'll give a quick recap. I thought it was really insightful to see how a large organization like the Wild is organized, especially on the non-professional hockey side, where it's more like events at the same time. Like you said, it was
so much there's so much you think it's just, you have players, coaches, and then a bunch of marketing guys, and then some executives. No, they literally have a full-on event staff too that coordinates everything from across the whole day.
And it was that blend of, like you said, they're on a time crunch. That it's mostly about their pros out there and getting the game put together, and all the other stuff is secondary. But they didn't treat you like it was secondary. It was very much let everyone in the organization enjoy it as much as possible, but still lightly remind them from time to time, okay, you need to be here, we need to be doing this, and this is your time. And it was that perfect balance of professionalism as well as joy.
Yep. And I will say that this year was a little bit different than it was in past, just because it sounded like a bunch of the Wild staff that were helping us get where we needed to go throughout the day. It sounded like a bunch of them were new to the position. So I mean, it wasn't as fluid as it has been in years past, but that's okay. That happens with new people. And it helped that we had a bunch of our own staff that had been there multiple times to help out through it. So it wasn't like a bunch of first-timers helping a bunch of first-timers. We had people on both sides who were first-timers, but we also had enough people on both sides to be able to help ourselves. And I recognized that we needed to be at a certain place at a certain time, so I called all of our people over without having to require the new Wild people to call us all over, kind of thing. So it was still very smooth, even with all the new first-timers on both sides.
And then just on the other perspective of knowing the players and being lightly involved, I was trying to take some pictures for Jared. It was really cool to see and try to capture that joy, because the whole time that they were on the ice, you could see that they wanted to play hockey, they wanted to showcase what they had, but that there was something bigger, that they were, even if they had been there before, it's like they hadn't been there before.
Yep.
It's something otherworldly that I've never experienced like that.
It's sort of like going to like the Super Bowl or the World Series or something. It's like you even if you've been there before, every time you go, it's still this euphoric feeling.
Yep.
And just being able to experience it again and again and again, if you have the opportunity to. Of course, it's going to wear off little bit by little bit, but there's still that little bit of euphoria because it's like, I'm here.
Yep.
I'm on this stage. I'm experiencing this like pros experience this.
And you captured it perfectly because you were talking about one of the players for our team. He had this look of like just amazement, bewilderment, and like almost like this ice is more slippery.
Yeah.
This
You can
ice is
tell
different.
that,
This setting is different. I'm not used to 19,000 people.
Yeah.
This isn't even hockey anymore, and it was overwhelming, but it's still cool to see that because it was still, as much as it was overwhelming, it was still enjoyable. You could tell because it was more like basking in the limelight.
Yeah, you could tell for sure that when he was getting his hockey gear on, he for sure was like just shaking, jittery, nerves kind of thing. And hey, you doing okay? You look kind of nervous. And then you hear him just as he starts to reply, you hear him stammer.
Yep.
The nerves making him stammer as he talks too. And no, I'm not. But you can tell just every aspect of how he responds physically and vocally and everything.
And seeing them all in the locker room, and kind of having that same reaction. Not all of them were stammering, but there was still, everyone had this sense of being involved in something way bigger than they're used to. Just made it feel like I was watching all these kids basically lace up for their first NHL game.
Yeah, and then you see them take the ice, and the second that they step out there, it's almost like every single one of them is experiencing learning how to skate for the first time again, even though they've been doing it for years and years and years, because they're so nervous, and that experience is such a big deal to them. And then literally, as soon as the puck drops,
it
turns off. Yep. That whole nervousness turns off entirely, and then they're skating like they're just at a regular home rink kind of thing.
You get to see basically the evolution of a hockey player all within a span of 5 minutes.
Yeah. It's funny to hear them too afterwards be like, oh man, I couldn't skate very well. Like you could see them not handling the experience all that well at times, and they come out after and be like, oh, I wasn't skating all that well. Oh, why is that? Oh, the ice is so choppy. I was so slow. I couldn't handle it.
Yep.
Just blaming all their problems on just choppy ice. It's like, you skate on this kind of ice sometimes at practice and whatever, and it's never a problem then, but all of a sudden it's a problem. And
they come back almost with excuses like a seasoned pro would.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, we all know that it's them. They're so excited. They're just like, I could have been way better,
Yep.
Puffing their chest. I could have been way better if it wasn't such a choppy ice,
I should have had that breakaway, but you know what? I was passing the puck too, so we're all good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think that was a really cool experience. So I'll kind of wrap this up and then we'll go into baseball. But what I would really encourage everyone to do is, when you're at a sporting event and you see some of those 50-50 fundraisers or people selling certain things through the team, it even goes to like the Twins at their booths, and I think the Vikings do it as well. At like the concession stands, they'll often have a lot of volunteers that get a portion of the proceeds. Yeah. So if you are curious, there's no harm in asking basically where the funds from that night are going.
Yep.
And I would really encourage people to do that and reach out, and then maybe try to either buy a program, because what's $1 or $2? Just support the organizations that are in there, especially if it's one that you care deeply about. I know people don't have the funds to do it all the time, but if you can do it for an organization that you really like, reach out, ask some questions. You'll probably also get a quick kind of summary of the organization itself, and who knows, maybe you'll you'll be volunteering for them in no time too.
Exactly. And for instance, like if it was a special hockey day, which I think my wife said that she saw that special, I didn't know about this yet, but it sounds like special hockey is going to be able to do the 50-50 raffle on October 14th. I think that was the date she said. That was on the calendar. So if you go that day to that game and you see the special hockey players out there selling 50-50 and you ask them, oh, well, where's this money going to? The answer is very simple. Hockey is an expensive sport, right? And some of the largest expenses are ice time and equipment.
Yep.
And so the majority of the money that gets donated to our program ends up going directly to getting ice time for these players. And we do try to help furnish players with equipment, whether it's through donations or helping them buy gear that they may need or grow into or whatever. So it helps with transportation as well.
Yep.
Special hockey has 13 teams across the state of Minnesota,
and some tournaments.
And some tournaments that we go to, and so we like to try to give them the opportunity to travel like a normal team would. And so that's where all those kind of funds go to. And of course we have some fun things like little team parties and stuff, but comparatively the cost of those team parties is peanuts compared to those transportation and ice time costs
and speaking from personal experience as a hockey player myself and knowing what my parents went through, it's a very expensive sport to begin with, and these families, since they are dealing with children with special needs, that's expensive in and of itself.
And
so to add on top of that the expense of hockey would be that basically forces a lot of kids, a lot of adults, and a lot of families out of the experience of hockey. So that's where you talked about Wild being wanting to get everyone involved. This is a way to get everyone involved because you don't have that expense on top of all the other expenses.
Correct. And it's not just the experience of just playing the game, it's the experience of having that locker room camaraderie. Yep. It's that experience of being able to travel. It's that experience of competing in a tournament against other teams from across the country or even across the globe. There's
getting that normal childhood experience and not making them alienated like a lot of kids in the past have.
Exactly. There are I forgot the last count. The United States has an extremely large number of special hockey teams and sled hockey teams and now Warriors teams. But Canada has a ton. Europe is growing team by team constantly. I think the last time I saw, they had the Europeans. There was a few England teams and there was some Swedish and Norwegian teams, and they're constantly new teams starting up all the time, and so being able to give them those kind of experiences that they wouldn't otherwise normally have, and some of these kids, their goal is to have some social growth in their life.
Yep.
So to being able just to interact with people instead of staying at home because they feel alienated, people who they can relate to, and they feel like they can be safe around.
And one of the biggest developmental disorders that we deal with in our program is probably the autism scale or spectrum.
Yep.
And you talk about needing to basically feel normal or have those friendships and have like-minded individuals to come together. That's perfect for them because it'd be easy for them to kind of sit in their own world and not have that experience and just be at home and kind of treated crappy like in the past, or have the opportunity to come together with some like-minded kids and feel like they're just on a hockey team for hockey players.
Exactly.
Not for special needs kids. It's a hockey team for hockey players.
Exactly, and the benefits even go so much farther than that too. Like for instance, we see players who come into the program as extremely introverted players, and by 1-2 practices, maybe a travel game where they're sitting on the bus with all their players and stuff, their friends, all of a sudden now they're extreme extroverts, and they just this is a bad way of saying it, but they just won't stop talking.
Yep.
And that's a good thing for an introvert to convert to that. And some of the other benefits are players learn to eat better. They learn to exercise more. They lose weight. So it extends far greater than just the ability to step on the ice and push a puck around a little bit.
Agreed. So we just got to the gates, and we will be switching over to baseball. But one last plug. I will let Jared, the webmaster, say this because this is part of his deal. Where can we find more information about Minnesota Special Hockey?
Minnesota Special Hockey is all over the web right now. You can find us at our website, mnspecialhockey.org. We are on Facebook at MN Special Hockey. We are on Twitter at MN Special Hockey. We are on Instagram at MN Special Hockey. You can find all of our supporting organizations at Henriksen Foundation at henriksenfoundation.com, and all their. They also have the same Henriksen Foundation on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and Sled Hockey and Warriors Hockey are all the same way. MinnesotaSledHockey.com or .org, I think they're .org, and so on and so forth down the line with all their social media.
So I will throw up some links in the show description, so be sure to go there. If you want to donate. If you want to get involved and either coach or know a person that could benefit from joining the team, let us know. And otherwise, interact, smash some likes, smash some retweets, help us get the voice out there. It's a fun organization, and if you want to come to a game, look at our schedules, and I wouldn't mind having some extra folks cheer on these players because they deserve it. Speaking of cheering on, that's a good segue, right?
Yep.
Where are we, and what are we going to cheer on?
We finally reached the Kirby Puckett Gate at Target Field, Gate 34, and it's raining, and it's Sunday, so no batting practice, but we're here to support the Twinkies in their run to their last game of the season and their run hopefully in the playoffs.
Yes, so it's the last game of the regular season. They definitely made it to the playoffs already. They'll be going to New York on Tuesday. Jared will not be accompanying me here at Target Field to watch the Twins on the big screen because he doesn't want to have it rain at Target Field because he would cry when we lose to the Yankees. I will still be my pessimistic self because it feels like at this point it's fuel to the fire. My wants and my pessimisms are very much the opposite, but I feel like I've seen this script before. We've faced the Yankees. I believe the last I saw is we have lost 9 straight in the playoffs to the Yankees. They have our number. We've also lost 3 straight this year at Yankee Stadium. So we got swept out there. That's not good. All signs are leading towards a slaughter, especially an Aaron Judge coming out party, I think, especially because he's going to be their new Mr. October. But you know what? They still have to play the game on Tuesday. What are your predictions for the Twins? How far do you see them going in the playoffs in general?
So we'll pretend that they get past the Yankees.
What's the likelihood, do you think, that they'll actually do this?
I think there's a 60% chance that they lose for sure. Then there's like a 15% chance of, hey, maybe, and then the rest is just no chance. I should say that the other way. 60% chance that there's no chance they win, right? 15% chance of, hey, maybe, and then the rest is, whatever. It's not like the Twins are bad. They're scoring a bunch of runs. They just have to get their defense in order for that one game, which is so hard to do. So I don't think the pitching is the big problem, and if we can keep it all together for one game, great. We get to the next round. So I don't think it's going to happen, but let's pretend that they do. If they get to the next round, they don't have enough, in my opinion, to make it past the next round. So
you don't think we can take the Indians? The Cleveland team?
Well, no. not that we've been, Superman against them, but they have the experience from last year. They were just literally on a 1,000,000-game winning streak, and it's not like they're really slowing down right now. So, yeah, no.
I would say that you're probably correct. I don't think that we're going to beat the Yankees, but I'll pretend with that as well. I feel actually the opposite of you, where it's if they get the monkey off their back of beating the Yankees, all of a sudden
maybe they can ride that momentum.
Yeah, they're a whole new team. They're basically the kid that doesn't know that they should quit. And also the fact that we've had kind of the Indians number this year. We've beat them multiple times out there. We've handled them pretty well. I mean, on
that was
paper,
all before the winning streak, though, right?
that was, but at the same time, winning streaks have to. You would think at some point the Indians have to get cold again.
Right.
So maybe we reach them when they're cold.
Maybe those extra few days are like, oh man, this is so relaxing, and then all of a sudden they forget how to play baseball for 2 or 3 games, and we can get an edge for.
Yeah, you take one game out there, and then all of a sudden you have a series.
Yeah. But
I don't know. It's one of those deals where I can see us either flaming out right away or somehow. I hate to say it, but like.
Was the 87 team? That was the team that was like super bad the year before, and then like surprised it. So then you're thinking that's like the 87 team.
Yeah, 87 and 91 where like before it's like garbage, and then even during the season they're not like the best team in baseball, but they do enough to get by. This might be like that team where like all of a sudden.
Which that would be extremely awesome.
Yeah, it would, but at the same time, I don't think my wallet would like it because I've paid for the playoff strips, and that means that I wouldn't get any of my money back. Which, oh well, at least I get the experience of going to a World Series game here at Target Field. But that's way out in the future. That's at the end of October.
Ambitious to say World Series at Target Field right now, but yeah, go for it.
I wouldn't mind though. Could you imagine a little bit of some snow?
I think that would be awesome.
And since we also got Miguel Sano back.
It's Tim Fawnin from the Eagles.
Jared is seeing one of our special hockey players walk by.
Speaking of the special hockey connection at Target Field, we have a number of players that work at Target Field during the baseball season.
So, Miguel Sano is back. How do you feel about that? How will that impact this team?
How many at-bats did he get?
He got just one his first game back, and then was DH yesterday, so at least 3 or 4 yesterday.
How did he do yesterday? I didn't see.
I don't know. They said one of his hits he hit, StatCast said it was 113.6 miles per hour. So it sounds like he crushed a ball. I don't know if it actually went for a hit or what happened, but the timing might be back.
Yeah, but he's
limited to get DH only.
He still has to deal with that slider that he freaking just can't catch at all. And I don't think you're going to get that back magically over 2 games of batting.
Especially if for some reason we do face that Cleveland team, because their pitchers are known to be nasty.
He got torched against Cleveland, didn't he? So, yeah, I don't have high hopes for him doing a whole lot for us. I think honestly it might be wasted at bats, but I mean, who's our alternative for DH right now? If you get Maurer at first, then Vargas could be the DH,
and at least Vargas is a switch hitter, so the matchups of him versus any pitcher is slightly better than Sano, who can really only face one type of pitcher.
Right, and if you put Vargas at first, then Maurer's your DH, and I would rather take Sano's power over Maurer, but the fact that Maurer's hitting like 404 or whatever, I mean, I don't think it's still that high anymore, but he was hitting like over 400 for like a month and a half there. You still have to put Maurer in over Sano, so.
And not that Sano is a clubhouse cancer, because it seems like he's very friendly with everyone, both fans and teammates, but there's something to be said about chemistry and the way that they were riding it out as a team. And this is definitely one of those teams where it's not superstars, it's literally the sum of everyone together. So throwing that kind of wrench in this team, I worry about it. Again, not because he's a bad guy or that he has a history of doing bad things, but they were riding what they were riding, and all of a sudden you're changing up a large piece of your squad.
Yeah, and you made me think of something just now too, that really Sano and Perkins that we've covered so far are the two major injuries that we've had all season. Otherwise, people have just sort of been up and down for a few days and it's no big deal. And that's really what you want to look for in a team to have a good chance at making the playoffs.
Yep.
And that's probably why the Twins are in the playoffs this year. Not that they're better than the Yankees or anything, but just that they have, I think that's Nick Urban too. they just have that that one. It's always, it sort of is like they say with your record, you have 60 wins, 60 losses, then what you do with in between. It's the same thing with injuries. Like if you can just maintain a whole season with maybe one or two players going down, and the fact that Perkins went down, I would say, I mean, yes, it sucks that Perkins was out, but I would say that it wasn't that big of a deal because he was sort of in his last season, maybe, probably, and he obviously wasn't showing the form that he had over the last couple of seasons just because of the injuries and stuff. So it really forced the Twins to put themselves into, okay, what's our future going to be like, and let's try to bring somebody up that we could see in that same role. And they tried a few things at the beginning of the season, and now they're at where they're at, and so through that whole season of trial and error with a new guy and being able to win with that, and not, I mean, I would say we probably haven't had to use the closer all that much this season. So
seems like when we win big, and when we lose, we kind of lose big.
Yeah. So it's not like we've had to do a whole lot of trial and error, but at least we have that option. And then when it comes to Sano, Escobar's filled in really well at the base and at third base, and Sano struggled against the slider, and everybody was just throwing sliders at him left and right. So I think I watched one at bat. I remember specifically he struck out on like 3 straight sliders, and it was just over the top of them every single time. And of course you want to have Sano's power in there, but having him out of the order wasn't that big of a deal because Escobar stepped up. And so to only have a few major injuries, or injuries that are major, and what I mean by that is like they're just out for a long period of time, and then to have somebody step into that role and do a decent job at least, and or better, that's the kind of quality you have in a team that can really make a run at the playoffs. So,
and ultimately this isn't really that different of a team than last year, but
right.
Where last year everyone was either underperforming or just barely getting by, this is finally a team that put it together. And Escobar is on fire. Rosario, he started slow, but the last half of the season has been on fire. Kepler has been consistent. He hasn't been on fire at all this year, but it's definitely been consistency is the model.
250.
Somewhere right around 250. But Buxton has really turned it around, especially in the second half again. So you get a lot of these guys that either have been very consistent through the season or in the second half have improved, and that's propelled us into where we are today. And also, I still would want much more power from Mauer, but the fact that his form is back and he's batting over 300.
The bomb that he hit, when he pulled it, was it a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago? The thing damn near landed through the Puckett gate. Like, seriously. But it's like I said, you and I talk frequently about how 10 years ago the Yankees had a lineup that for 10 or 15 years at that time had a lineup where every single guy who stepped up to the plate you were afraid of, and you just knew that guy could do some major damage. And I'm not saying that the Twins are there, but when you have a guy who, like, as much as I rag on Maurer, like, Maurer has hole-seeking hits just constantly, especially lately. And when you have just an order top to bottom that they're just finding hits left and right, they're not maybe powerful hits for home runs a lot, but they do. There are certain.
There's not easy outs.
Right, and so every at bat is a challenge for the pitcher, and it makes the next at bat for the guy next in line that much easier too, because now the pitcher's like, I got to focus on this guy, and then he could forget about the next guy and forget about the next guy. Oh, I might just throw a ball here to pitch around, but then the next two pitches are not strikes, even though he was trying to get a strike, and now all of a sudden you get better at bats and hits start to string, and then you start to get runs and go forward for wins.
So if I were to ask you for an MVP selection from the Twins, but modify it because right now MVP, you basically look at the WAR, wins above replacement, and whoever is highest basically gets the MVP. Mm-hmm. Let's take that away and incorporate as a large percentage of your MVP as improvement for that player personally, and then what they have been able to contribute both intangibles and on the field. I'll say mine first, because I'll let you think a little bit. But for me,
I think I already have two choices potentially,
and maybe one of them could be the same because you said his name before. Eduardo Escobar. The guy has over 20 home runs now this season, which when we made that Francisco Liriano trade for him, it didn't look like it was good. It looked like we were getting a utility guy that was going to bat 200 at bats.
Like
and
the Piranhas from back in the day.
Yeah, we basically had another Denny Hawking on our team or something. But the way that he has matured and been able to put together, he's almost kind of like a Latino Kadir in that he's always smiling, he's happy, he's a good player, clubhouse kind of guy, but he can also fit in at basically any position and help your club win.
I think it's funny that you bring up Kadir, because I've told you before that I believe that Kadir only got better as soon as he was in the lineup every day.
Yep.
And the same thing happened with Plouffe, and I think the same thing is happening with Kepler.
Yep.
But I think obviously Escobar being in the lineup every single day has made a major difference in his ability and his skill level, just to be able to maintain consistency across the board.
So, who would be your quasi MVP based on that type of criteria?
My first thought was Escobar, but since you said Escobar, I'll go with somebody else, and I'll say Polanco. I don't know all of his stats off the top of my head, and I don't follow stats all that close. I just follow like the vibe, the feel that I get from that guy, and I feel like Polanco has just really stepped up, and he seems to be an everyday kind of player, and is being consistent and maintaining that role really well, and he seems to be doing it quietly to me. Maybe I'm missing all of the noise that he's making, but he seems, which to me is a speak softly and carry a big stick kind of thing, and
especially plugging a hole in shortstop that the Twins haven't had a franchise shortstop for a long time. Not saying that he is a franchise shortstop, but at least he's been able to plug it serviceably better than the scrubs that we've seen.
Think of Dozier at second base. Now Polanco's in his season, and Dozier for the first couple seasons was really trying to just figure it all out kind of thing. And I feel like Polanco is the same way, but then Dozier all of a sudden has a breakout year last year, and I feel like Polanco this may not be that same level, but it's almost there, and next year could be like, holy cow, this guy is all-star caliber kind of guy.
Which would really help the Twins system, because then they wouldn't have to rush up our number 1 overall draft pick that we just got this year. That was the shortstop. I'm blanking out on his name right now, which is sad. Nope, that was the pitcher.
That was the other guy. Gotcha.
Crap. That's going to bug me. Anyways, we don't have to rush up guys like that. So, not saying that the Twins need to hold on to guys in their system longer, because they're kind of notorious for waiting until they're 26, 27 to bring them up. But at least they don't have to have the same type of learning curve that they had with Buxton, bringing him up probably way too young. I think if they can wait until he's maybe 22, 23, rather than trying to bring him up in the next year or two, that's gonna be good. So we have at least a bridging shortstop, and then maybe a good trade piece.
Yeah, for sure.
So is there anything else when it comes to the Twins baseball season that we should talk about? What does the sign say, by the way? Because you helped. I had the basic premise, but then I feel like your touch just put it over the edge and made it good.
We missed a part too, but so Tony had come up with an idea since he broke his arm that he's going to make a sign, and I think did you say it was going to be specifically for this game?
Yep.
Okay, I didn't remember that part, but it was going to be specifically for this last game of the season, and he said it would read, "Will break arm for playoffs." And then I said, well, that implies that you would do it, but you already did, so you should write the sign to say "will break arm for playoffs" and then cross out the "will" and write "did." So now that it reads "did break arm for playoffs," because hey, now we're in the playoffs too, like it makes sense. But I just realized we missed a part of this that is essential to all signs when you bring it to a ball game.
Hi, Mom?
Well, we could write that in the corner. There's plenty of space, but you didn't specify who going to the playoffs.
I think it's obvious. I mean, we're playing the Tigers.
Well, right, but for all we know, you could be a Yankee fan.
I'll have the. What if I have the Twins hat on as I'm doing that? Will that be okay?
That seems reasonable, but I feel like we need to really solidify this with the Twins playoffs and associate it, connected with the Twins playoffs.
I hope I brought a marker
on there. Well, I'm sure we could find.
Or maybe I can ask.
Nice usher somewhere.
Or maybe ask him for a sticker and put the Twins sticker on there.
We could go buy a sticker at the clubhouse or something. Yeah.
So I think that pretty much wraps it up. I'll go into the slightly personal ball hawking, the quick stuff to get that out of the way. I'm at 246 right now. The goal is to get to 250 this year, so 4 tonight would be pretty awesome. If I get 10, that would put my average at exactly 8 per game for the entire season, which would be insane. I've never done anything like that before. But overall, I'm just hoping for a good game, catch a couple balls. The dream would be to catch one in that goalie glove.
Especially with no BP, it's going to be a struggle today. So.
Yes, but we'll see where it lands. We'll see if they're generous after the end of the game. I'm guessing that they're going to hold on to everything because they still need their bats and stuff for the playoffs. But then the second part of this goal is I hope that we can somehow beat the Yankees and come back here, because I would really like to try to get my hands on a postseason ball that I can actually get from Target Field, because I've never been able to do that before. I've gotten a couple balls during the postseason back in 2010, but they weren't postseason commemoratives, so it would be really cool to finally cross that off the list and get one from the Twins.
I don't pay that much attention to the commemoratives, even though I do look at them sometimes, but the postseason ones are not unique to the ballpark, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So it's just overall, they'll use it, I'm thinking probably in the wild card game all the way through the championship series, the same postseason ball, and then they'll have a World Series ball.
Okay.
And usually that looks cool because it's almost like a gold leaf type of thing, so it's really hard to see on the ball because of the mud rubbed, but it just kind of looks that much cooler because it's almost like under the radar. Yeah. So we'll see. Hopefully I can do another episode from At the Gates, but if not, it's been a wonderful ride. 2018 looks like it's going to be, the majority of the games that I'll go to are going to be on the road, and Jared will be joining me for probably the kickoff, not only at Target Field next year, but probably my kickoff anywhere else, and that will be in beautiful California, which right now with the weather sounds fantastic.
Well,
I wish it was California.
South Carolina, it was 90 degrees all week, and now I come back here and it's barely 60 and rainy.
So you want to go to California now?
I could go to California right now.
All right. Well, we'll leave it there. Probably do like a post-game recap with everyone, because I know that there's going to be some other Ballhawks here at the field. Yeah, so this is Tony signing off. I thought I lost everything and that it automatically deleted, so that's why you had that weird yeah part. So, signing off from Target Field. Here's future Tony, which is for you, present Tony, giving the recap of today's game. And post-game wrap-up. I ended up the season, actually this game with 6, ended the season with 252, short of 8 per game, but I'm only 4 short overall, so not too bad. James, what did you get this year and how many games?
Today I finished with 2 baseballs, total on the season 154 in 37 games, so.
Not too shabby. Nate?
I honestly don't even know how many I got this season, but kind of an off season for me, but.
And is it because of what you're doing right now?
No, I just really haven't been to many games at all. Like I haven't really like tried to get autographs that much, but it's kind of an off season.
And do you own any goldfish?
I plead the fifth.
How many goldfish have you eaten? Not like actual animals, but like the crackers.
Well, I mean they're pretty tiny, and I like goldfish, so I mean probably like somewhere in the maybe like thousands.
Jared, how many balls did you finish with this year? Other one than the ones we can't.
I think I'm in the neighborhood of about 800.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how many games?
It's more like 778, but I round up to make it sound awesome.
That's true. How many games did you go to?
6.
6. So that's a really good average. So I need to ask you a question. Who discovered plutonium and what year?
Well, in one of your previous.
All right, cool.
You said in one of your previous podcasts, you said I talk too much, so I'm going to answer with this. Science man.
A science man? But that doesn't describe the year. Plutonium.
A year.
I've got the answer. Miguel Sano, 1998.
He was barely born.
Bill Nye the Science Guy, 2017.
He was a very smart child, so Sano kind of figured it out on his own.
Well, we'll let them go back to graphing. So, good luck to you.
One more thing.
Is this going to be like a mic drop type of deal?
Nate out.
All right. Well, James, postseason? Anyone? Postseason?
If we make the ALD, we're going to kick some Yankee ass on Tuesday, and I will be back here.
If we make the ALDS, I'll be here. I'll be here. Like, I've only been like 8 games this year, but I'm going to make this next one.
The
count.
ALDS?
Yeah.
Okay. ALDS, we'll be here. Nice. $7,000. Not U.S.
He's selling it to you. You just agreed to a $7,000 investment.
I didn't say U.S. dollars.
He just said U.S.
No.
Goldfish.
Yeah, 7,000 goldfish.
7,000.
Take that.
Miss you.
Postseason, April whatever.
April whatever. February 31st. So, that was the end of the season, possibly. What did you think of this Twins team? Go.
Twins team today or Twins team this season?
Yes.
Gotcha. Well, today they were good. They obviously won, so hooray team. This season, they clearly outperformed expectations.
By winning more games than they lost.
That's true. And surprisingly, I was one of the few people that predicted they would get in the high 70s for wins. I'm not trying to take credit for that, but I feel like I was more optimistic than most people were. So to me, it was like, hey, cool. They.
So you're not taking credit for their wins?
No,
is what you're saying?
No. Just the last one and the first one.
Okay, that's true.
And a few in the middle, but.
And the one in Baltimore.
And the one in Baltimore, because I was there, and got a home run ball from it. No, I didn't get the home run ball. I got one after that. But yeah, good season. Oh yeah, windscreen. Good season overall. Obviously, not the greatest season, but hey, we did way better than most people thought, and Rock on, go team. It's always nice to be surprised with
In a
more
good way.
wins in a good way. So yeah.
Because we've been surprised with bad
So much
teams
bad.
lately. Just when we think it can't get any worse, we get 103 losses in a season, and it's worse. But this year, we turned it around. On a personal note, I had the best season that I will ever have when it comes to catching baseballs.
That's because it's all downhill from here.
Downhill from here, and there's only, let me think of this now, 133 remaining, I believe. So, well, we almost got hit by a cop car. That would have been pretty awesome.
That would have been pretty awesome.
So yeah, there's 133 remaining, and the fact that I got 252 this year means I cannot duplicate that unless I'm a liar about me retiring. And I don't want to be a liar. The end of the game was a little bit different than basically all of the end of the seasons that I can ever remember, because the Twins had somewhere to go. They had more games to play at the end of the season. So that means that they weren't throwing things into the crowd really. Most of the players threw their hats and ended up with a Vargas hat, because Vargas is cool. And that was really about it that they threw into the stands. A couple bats got given away, looked like they were cracked ones. But overall, very different atmosphere. A lot of people were excited, and you could tell that the Twins were excited and happy that they won and happy to be in front of their crowd. But they were, I think, already looking at New York, looking at the flight, and just trying to get out of there so that they could prepare for real baseball. If you were in the coaching staff somehow,
We got a long walk. Are we gonna make this walk, this podcast longer?
maybe.
All right.
If you were in the coaching staff somehow, what would you be telling this team before you go out to New York? I mean, you could address either the baggage of the Yankees and the Twins,
I don't touch
or
that. I don't
what
touch
what
that
do you
at
tell
all.
them?
My message is just like what I try to convey in real life anyway, and that is, you got nothing left to lose. We got nothing to lose, is what I'm saying. Just the message is really positive the whole way through. Just go out and have fun. It's playoffs, man. Like, let's go do this thing. Let's surprise some people. Let's,
It's about building an experience at this point, right?
Exactly, like, so what if people don't think you're going to make it to the playoffs? So what if people don't think you're going to win this wild card game? So what? Like, just go out, have fun of it, learn from it, do the best that you can, and, try to be that underdog who shows everybody what's up this season, because you know what you got, and they don't, clearly, so.
And if I were a fan that were trying to talk to them, not necessarily a coach, because I don't know that a coach would have put this much emphasis on it, but if I were able to tell them as a fan something, I would say, make it a short-term goal that you play at least one more game at home.
Yeah.
Because if you do that, that puts you
You're
in the
always-
ALDS, and that puts you not looking ahead as if you can beat the Yankees, but it gives you a goal to look forward to that isn't too terribly lofty, but it isn't so super low that you're just concentrating on the next foot in front of yourself.
I'll even take it one step farther and just say, you want one more at bat, you want one more out, you want one more, just constantly going after that next one, because then as like, you want them to be relaxed, right? But also, if you portray too much of a sense of relaxation, right, then you can get caught on your heels right away, right? So you stay positive, you keep them relaxed as best as possible, but you also keep pushing that, get the next one, get the next one, get the next one, so that if, say, you have a bad strikeout or you have a bad throw or something like that, you can go after that next one and and just keep that focus where it needs to be.
So it's kind of finding that balance between relaxation and urgency, because if you play too urgent, that's when you're gripping the bat too tight and making stupid errors and striking out and getting down on yourself. But if you're playing too relaxed, you might overlook the game in front of you, and considering this is a one game take all type of deal, you don't have a game to give.
Yeah.
So overall, how was your experience just at baseball parks in general? Because I know that we hit up new parks together. We also hit up a new park on our own, which ended up being the same park. Overall, 2017 MLB season for you, how was it?
It's pretty good. I don't think that even though next year we're going to be experiencing a lot of similar type trips, I'm not sure anything after these 2 years is going to quite equate. I don't think anything before these last 2 years could equate either. It's just baseball to me is one of those sports that as time goes on, I'm starting to realize like it doesn't have to be on the highest level as much as you want it to be on the highest level. It doesn't have to be, because you can still enjoy watching a baseball game no matter where you go.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be your home team. It doesn't have to be the best players. It doesn't have to be the All-Star game or the World Series or whatever. Just pick a team and go for it. And you can do that with by experiencing new ballparks too. And just seeing how they do things differently, and how, this ballpark has this great layout and these kind of features on the outside, and I wish our ballpark had that. And then the next time the Twins, they like to go and have these meetings afterwards and after the season and be like, what did you like? What did you not like? Well, that's when you can throw those suggestions in and be like, hey, this other club has this thing and I really enjoyed that. Let's try that, and all for making the ballpark experience better in general. So, when we visited all those ballparks this year, we definitely saw quite a few of those things and discussed them ad nauseum, as all these podcasts, long as they go. But I felt like this year was really good, and it's going to be hard to top it, even though next year we're going to do some similar things. And it's going to be a lot different once you're giving up your season tickets next year, so that's even less games that I'll probably go, because lately you've been pulling me into games, and I just watch them mostly on TV now. And then as your ball hockeying career comes to an end, that's probably less trips that we go on together and to see all these new ballparks. So that's why I see like these 2 years are kind of the peak for me, I think.
Yep. So it's kind of weird, because when you talk about going to all these things and experiencing it and seeing how they do things differently, I thought of the old adage, the only constant is change.
Yeah.
Well, you could say that the thing that binds us together is our uniqueness. Even though we're so different, and I'm talking about we as in like the general state, not necessarily just you and I.
Yep.
But it even goes down to like baseball teams, stadiums, things like that. There's a unifying thing that makes them all similar, but that similarity is somehow rooted in it being a unique experience at each one.
Yep.
So I've been experiencing that more at all of these ballparks, because it's cool that I can catch basically what amounts to the same exact ball at 30 different places, but the story behind it and the backdrop behind it is unique to each of those 30 stadiums. Even if it's something that you say this is the worst stadium, it's still its own unique experience.
Exactly. And you could, and it's sort of a life application there too. As much as we say that we're not so different, you and I, you look at us on the outside and we're similar people. We have eyes, we have heads, we have hands, we have the same skin tone, and some people, are black and they have a different skin tone, but they're still people.
Yep.
We're still humans. We're still all
Skeletal destruction is the same. DNA is for the most part the same.
Yeah, we all have bones. We all think, we all have thoughts, right? We all think analytically in different ways, and we all think in the same kind of aspect. And but then we are also different too in how we do have different. I mean, we're both white, but I have a different skin tone than you do, and just I'm taller than you, and one of us is more athletic, one of us is more of a thinker, one of us is more something different. Yep. And it even goes so far as to say, like, one of us could die a violent death, but one of us could die from like a paper cut. Like, it's so weird to think that you can apply just things you learn from visiting different baseball parks to realizing how similar baseball parks are to how different they are, and applying that to just human culture and politics we experience today, and how weird it is to think that somebody can be like us, who we tend to think more liberally, but there's also people who are on the complete opposite end of the spectrum who think so differently, and they totally believe what they think, and we're just like, that's crazy. How could you even think that? Well, they believe that, So, it's just the
reflections of humanity that you get through your shared and different experiences.
Well, those are the things you and I probably think about. I can't say that everybody thinks about that, but
if they might not think about it, it still is a reflection whether or not they're actually looking in the mirror.
Right.
And it's kind of funny because you mentioned that these 2 years are kind of like the pinnacle, and I feel that way too. So it's kind of weird that, like, and it's not a coincidence because, like you said, we both like baseball, and I feel like you, in a way, early on, right before the stadium was built, you kind of got me back into Major League Baseball because you were more into it, and probably more into it because of the stadium being built and that whole process. So that brought me back in.
The process is so interesting too, like how just watching something get built, something that's what seems like it could be simple, but is so massive and so expensive and takes so long that, like, you could literally go every single day and it wouldn't look different at all, except for if you look closely, you'll notice little differences.
It's still changing. From what we heard from the guards or the ushers or whatever, the gate workers, they said it was going to change, and there's going to be a different gate 34, and it's going to be completely different.
Yeah.
But what I was going with on the other part was...
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's fine. Is that you kind of brought me back into baseball, and then I went mad with catching baseballs, but that kind of fueled my passion for baseball lately. And now, because I'm having bigger years and I'm more into it, I'm bringing you with me. So it's almost like we've been tethered together.
Reversing the roles kind of thing lately.
We have this bond, this tether, and when you go into something like baseball, I'll kind of follow, and then because I had more momentum, I went further deeper into it, and then you kind of came along. It's kind of cool to think about that, and I would say that it's going to be interesting to see what we do after, when baseball isn't one of the focuses, to see where that goes.
Well, we still have hockey. I think I brought you back into hockey again too, especially getting you into special hockey really got you back into that world again.
And again, like, especially like the pro level too, because before that, like, I don't think I had gone to more than like 1 or 2 professional games in the last 5+ years, and now already I've gone to 2 or 3 in the last 2 years.
Yep.
And it's piqued my interest again. And so I think that there's that. There's also the other thing that I was kind of looking at, and it seems like you would be down for that if that was a route that we take, and we kind of get to explore this in Los Angeles with Joshua Tree, would be some of like the national monuments, because that's something that really intrigues me, and getting that list and taking a look at that.
Me, not so much, other than the photography aspect of it, which it's like one of those things to me where it's like, I mean, I'm not that I'm not a history buff, or I'm not a history buff or a national parks buff. Like, there's some interesting things in each one of those, but when you have a hobby like photography, like I do, I mean, we've talked about it at length when we went to Philadelphia and stuff, how
and even DC, especially
just
DC.
Photographing these different aspects of things can really pull you in and make you interested.
Yep.
And you weren't even trying to be interested. You just become interested because you start to find new and interesting things to photograph at each new location. So yeah, Joshua Tree could be, as much as I'm not like as into it as you are to visit there, I still think it's going to be cool, because who knows where that can take me down a new path.
Yep.
You know.
And I think the reason why I'm really excited for Joshua Tree is because I had that spark happen to me with the Grand Canyon not too long ago, last year, early in last year? Or was it 2015 already?
I flew over Grand Canyon last year.
So it might have been 2015 when I went up there.
And I think you were before that.
Yeah, it was, yeah. So whenever I went there, seeing that kind of opened my eyes, because, not saying that you think this way, but I think a lot of people kind of get in that trap of, they hear something is great and they kind of poo-poo it and can kind of go like, is it really that great? And I find myself in that trap a lot, especially with some music and stuff. But then when I went there and experienced it myself, I was like, holy crap, this really is as good as what they were saying. And I had my own experience there. And then that kind of led to what other places are like that, what other national monuments are there, or national parks, I should say, so not national monuments. But knowing that the West Coast is full of them, and that we are going through one basically, which is Joshua Tree, and hearing the influence that it's had on a lot of musicians and artists, I'm excited, because that's the same type of impact that the Grand Canyon had.
The name of the YouTube album,
Yep.
The Joshua Tree. So we're gonna listen to U2 on the way to the.
Not that I have things totally picked out, but that might be on the playlist.
Okay, I'm with you.
So I'm kind of intrigued to see what that sparks between us. Not that it's going to be necessarily like a thing that totally replaces baseball, but it might be something that maybe we look at going to if for some reason we want to go check out some other place, or maybe it's for a special hockey tournament and then it just so happens that we have some extra days, or who knows.
Yep. I think the greater motive is the greater, what am I looking for? The greater meaning behind all of this is that, you know, don't ever say no, because you never know what you can get out of something, especially when you experience it with friends.
Yep.
Or family.
And I think to preface this, within reason, kids, within reason.
And even if we're all different, we all can be the same in so many different ways. And so it's important to keep an open mind, because of the fact that you never know how your mind can be changed in a good way or a different way, or you can experience something new that then changes your life path. For instance, bringing you into special hockey. Not to say that it really altered your course, but I mean, it brought you back
noticeably
into hockey.
different. Yep.
Yeah, and it brought you into a whole new world of hockey that you may not have even known at that time. So
and it made me reflect, and when I talk about the whole like veganism, straight edge type of stuff, a lot of my choices are based on morality, and not necessarily saying that that my reason for doing special hockey is morality based, but it made me question, like, okay, there's some moral goodness in this. Why am I not doing that?
Yep.
And so it makes me question my life choices.
It
and
humbles you.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, if I'm choosing to do certain things based on morals, is that the path that I want to take? Do I want to lead a moral life? Or do I want to, is me saying no to special hockey going to influence the way that I live in different areas too? Because I could have easily said no, but then what does that mean for the other moral things that I was doing?
Right, and not to say that it's easy either. It's definitely a challenge. You know, as much as I give my heart and soul to special hockey every single year, there are definitely days where it's like, I don't want to do this.
Yep.
You know, but everybody goes through that. It's important to just come back to square one and say, there's a greater reason than just me. You know?
And I think seeing what you've gone through, I would say that I can see you taking a small step back, which is for good reason, because sometimes you do just have too much on your plate with all of the life stuff. But it's not like you're going to give up on the program.
No.
You're still going to be there, which...
And I am taking a step back, and for a number of good reasons, but one of the big ones is it's important for special hockey to not lean on me.
Yep.
And basically rely on me to prop them up.
Yep.
You know, not saying that they are totally, but in different aspects it does happen.
Yep.
You know, and that's just generally what happens when somebody takes the lead. And
we see it in politics all the time. I mean,
Exactly.
The reason why certain people get votes is the old saying is, I just wanted someone different. Well, sometimes you need that different blood flow in there. For either the organization to wake up and say, actually, we kind of liked it the old way, or to just get new blood and bring it into a new direction.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You know, another reason is I just need to step away and give myself some more free time to do different things that I have in mind already, that I'm hoping at some point I can come back and utilize those skills to then take special hockey to the next level.
Yep.
And, you know, another big reason is to just allow myself some time to recharge my batteries and come at it with a new angle and new fresh ideas, because when you work at something so hard, whether it's ball hawking or helping special hockey or whatever, you can get sort of stuck in a spinning wheel per se, and it can be hard to come up with new ideas or a new direction for how to approach things and grow the game or whatever, you know.
And it's not good for you, and it's also not good for the organization, because organizationally speaking, like, they want people that are fully charged and ready to go.
Yeah.
And not necessarily saying that anyone who isn't should be kicked out. It's more like, I think of it like college professors taking sabbaticals. I feel like that is a really good approach to have in life, whether it's your job or hobbies or whatever. Sometimes you just need to take a break to recharge, because people lose passion over anything in life.
Yeah, and you don't even have to lose passion. Like I said, it could just be that you need to take a step back so that you can allow your brain to think a little bit differently on a different topic for a while, so that then you can come back and approach that original idea from a different angle.
So we are coming up on Franklin and LaSalle. So any of you that are from Minneapolis will know exactly where we're at.
We'll just cross and then go to them.
Any of you who aren't from there, that means nothing, but we're almost all the way there. I think that's probably a good place to stop. This might be the end, but it might not. That's the nature of playoff baseball.
Oh, the end of this season.
Yes, the end of this season, I should say.
Yeah, let's make sure there's context to this story.
This might be the entire end. Jared and I are going to jump in front of 2 trains.
Not really.
Yeah, because there's no trains around here.
Nope.
So, if you hear my voice again, that means that the Twins won, beat the Yankees. If you hear my voice again, but it's not at a baseball stadium, that means that the Twins lost. So either way, you'll hear more of me. Just depends on my location. So signing off for 2017, Once again, I am joined by,
Atlanta Jared.
and I am Minneapolis Tony, saying good night, good luck, and go chase some balls, maybe, or just follow your passions, do something fun, have fun, live, join us at the baseball games, who knows, bye. Hello and welcome back to At the Gates, the hidden episode. I am Tony, your host, and I am joined right now by... That's right, it's Evelyn, my dog/daughter. Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. It's Evelyn Nibbler, my apologies. So, Evie, what would you like to discuss? Wow, really? You're a fan of the Twins too? I didn't even realize that you paid attention to baseball. Good one. Of course you like watching for all the walks. No, we aren't going for one yet. We need to finish this podcast. All right, that sounds like a fair deal. Now, give me your prediction for this Twins team. Will they be able to beat the Yankees? I couldn't agree with you more. Just one of the many reasons why I love you. Aw, thanks. Now, how about you do the sign-off for this extra-long episode? Anything you want to say? It's all yours.